The afternoon sun shimmered over the polished floor tiles of the grand hotel lobby as Alexis Carter stepped inside, pulling a small suitcase behind her. She had just finished a 14-hour flight. Her back ached, her eyelids felt heavy, and her stomach growled with frustration. But despite her exhaustion, there was a determined glint in her eyes, the kind only someone surviving on grit and goals carried. Alexis wasn't here on vacation. She wasn't here for luxury. She was here for survival. Her company had been on the edge of collapse for months. Unpaid invoices, shrinking contracts, and clients backing away the moment they saw a small, minority-owned business at the bottom of the proposal. She was good at what she did. Exceptional, actually. But the world didn't always meet her excellence with fairness. Today, though, was her last chance. She had traveled across the country for a meeting she'd been chasing for half a year. A meeting that could either save her business or bury it permanently. She walked toward the reception desk, straightening her jacket as she approached. Two hotel staff members sat behind the counter, both young men dressed in dark blue blazers, heads tilted together as they chatted quietly. They barely looked up when she arrived. Alexis cleared her throat softly. "Excuse me," she began, her voice polite but firm. "I have a reservation under Carter. Alexis Carter." One of the men, tall, pale-skinned, with slicked back hair, finally turned toward her. The moment he looked at her, Alexis felt that familiar sting of hesitation. His smile faded a little, just a little, but enough for her to notice. "Reservation?" he repeated, as though the concept itself was questionable. "Yes," she said calmly. 4 nights. I booked it 2 months ago." He clicked around the computer with exaggerated slowness. The other desk agent, a shorter guy with a patchy beard, leaned in, whispering something. Both of them glanced at Alexis, then at each other, then back at the screen. The air around them thickened with silent judgment. Finally, the taller one leaned back. "I'm sorry," he said slowly. "We don't seem to have anything under that name." Alexis blinked. "What do you mean you don't have it? I got the confirmation email yesterday." He raised his eyebrows in a way that suggested disbelief rather than concern. "Maybe you booked at the wrong branch," he offered with a shrug. "No," she said, tightening her grip on the suitcase handle. "This is the one." He sighed dramatically. "Look, ma'am, sometimes people book online and assume it went through. But it doesn't." Alexis inhaled sharply, fighting irritation. "Could you check again?" she asked, maintaining composure. He did, or pretended to, then shook his head. "Nope, nothing here." Before Alexis could respond, a woman in a crisp navy suit stepped out from the office behind the desk, a manager by her demeanor. She walked with an air of superiority, her expensive heels tapping sharply as she joined the conversation. "What seems to be the issue?" she asked the staff, ignoring Alexis entirely. The taller clerk leaned toward her. "She says she has a reservation," he murmured, "but we don't have anything under her name." The manager finally turned to Alexis, her expression instantly stiff. "Do you have proof of your reservation?" she demanded. Alexis opened her phone. "Yes, I do," she said, pulling up the confirmation email. "Here." The manager leaned forward, then paused. "When did you book this?" she asked sharply. 2 months ago," Alexis replied. The manager's lips tightened. Well, the issue is," she said, tapping the desk impatiently, "we've had several fraudulent bookings recently. We cannot accept online confirmations unless they are verified through our system." Alexis stared at her. "It's not fraudulent," she said, steady but growing colder. "That's my reservation. You can call the corporate line to verify if you need to. We don't have time for that, the manager snapped. Our rooms are fully booked, and we can't accommodate people who... People who what? Alexis knew exactly how that sentence was about to end. A chill ran through her arms. The manager folded her arms across her chest. You'll need to leave, she said, her voice cutting like a blade. We cannot assist you. Alexis just stood there for a moment, her jaw tightening. The humiliation was unbelievable. She had worked all her life to stand tall, to move with dignity. And now, in front of strangers, this woman treated her like she didn't even deserve to stand in the same lobby. Alexis swallowed the burn in her throat. Let me speak to someone above you, she said softly. The manager laughed. I am the person above me. Behind her, the two employees smirked. Alexis took a slow breath. Ma'am, this trip is important. I am here for a business meeting and I... Oh please, the manager interrupted, waving a dismissive hand. You don't look like someone who has a business meeting. Alexis froze. It's been a long flight, she said quietly. Forgive me if I don't look my best right now. Well, the manager sneered. This is a luxury hotel. We have standards. The room around Alexis seemed to tilt for a moment. Guests nearby had stopped pretending not to watch. The front desk had become a stage, one she had never asked to stand on. The manager pointed toward the revolving door. You need to exit the lobby now. We won't ask again. Alexis lifted her chin, breath shaking with anger she refused to let out. She grabbed her suitcase, turned away, and walked slowly toward the entrance, each step echoing the painful truth. They didn't deny her because of a missing reservation. They denied her because of who she was. And that was a mistake they were about to regret. Because Alexis Carter wasn't just any tired traveler. Private staff, she was the daughter of a man whose name held weight in every corporate boardroom in the city. A man who could end careers with a single phone call. The hotel staff just didn't know that. Yet, the revolving glass doors eased shut behind Alexis as she stepped outside into the crisp afternoon air. The hotel's enormous sign gleamed above her, a monument of privilege, polished arrogance, and the quiet cruelty she had just experienced. She pulled her suitcase to the side, allowing herself one long, steady breath. Her hands trembled, not from weakness, but from the fury she had forced herself to swallow inside the lobby. She had been humiliated, dismissed, undermined, judged before she ever got the chance to speak. And for a moment, just a moment, she wondered if she should walk away and try another hotel. But then, something inside her snapped into place, something sharp and unshakable. She turned and looked back through the glass. The manager was still behind the counter, smirking triumphantly as she clicked away on her keyboard. The two clerks stood beside her like pathetic background characters in a scene they didn't realize they'd regret starring in. They thought they had won. They thought they had pushed her out. They thought they could treat her like nothing because she walked in alone, without power, without status, without backup. They didn't know who Alexis Carter really was. Alexis reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. Her reflection in the screen looked tired but fierce. Eyes narrowed, jaw tight. She scrolled to her contacts until she found the number only a few people in the world possessed. Dad. She hesitated. Not because she was scared. Alexis had never been scared of fighting for herself, but because she'd spent years trying to prove she didn't need to rely on him. Her father had built an empire through sweat, blood, and unbreakable strategy. Everywhere he went, people whispered his name, respectfully, fearfully, strategically. He had offered her seats at the table. He had offered her shortcuts. He had offered her power on a silver platter, but she chose to build her own path, her own company, her own name, and yet, today, she had been treated like someone without a name at all. She exhaled slowly and pressed the call button. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then his voice answered, deep, steady, commanding even through a phone speaker. Alexa? Everything okay? Hearing him made her shoulders drop, just slightly. Dad, I need your help. There was a pause, short but heavy. He rarely heard those words from her. What happened? He asked, voice sharpening. Alexis explained everything. The reservation, the dismissal, the disrespect, the manager's tone, the snickering staff. As she spoke, the anger she had contained so gracefully inside the hotel poured freely into her father's silence. When she finished, a cold fury filled the quiet between them. That hotel, he said slowly, belongs to one of our partner groups. Alexis blinked. Partner group? That means, he continued, voice dropping lower, I sit on the advisory board that oversees their national operations. Alexis inhaled sharply. She hadn't known. I'll handle this, he said. Dad, Alexis protested weakly. I don't want to ruin careers. I just want. You deserve respect, he cut in. And they denied you that. They judged you the moment they saw you. This is not about revenge. This is about principle. She swallowed hard. I just wanted a room. I didn't expect. Stay where you are, he ordered. I'm sending someone. Dad, you don't have to. It's already done, he said. The line disconnected. Alexis lowered the phone, her heart beating fast. Anger, relief, disbelief, all tangled together. She stared back at the hotel's glass doors, imagining the manager still basking in the false victory of her arrogance. She has no idea what's about to happen, Alexis thought. She wasn't sure whether to feel triumphant or guilty. 15 minutes passed. 10 more. Alexis pulled her suitcase closer as a sleek black SUV approached the hotel entrance. It stopped with a quiet purr, and the back door opened. A man in a gray suit stepped out, tall, serious, with the kind of controlled presence that made people straighten their posture without understanding why. Ms. Carter, he called. Alexis stepped forward. Yes. He smiled politely. I'm here on behalf of your father. We're checking you in. Alexis blinked. But they said they didn't. They do now. He gestured toward the entrance. Shall we? Alexis hesitated only a moment before following him inside. The revolving door spun behind her. The lobby looked exactly the same, but the energy was different, very different. The tall clerk saw her first, and his smirk vanished instantly. The shorter one straightened in alarm. Then the manager turned, confusion flickering across her face, before tightening into irritation. Oh, you're back, she said, masking her surprise with disdain. Ma'am, as I explained, the man in the gray suit stepped forward. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Carter. The manager stiffened. Mr. Carter, she repeated. And you are? I must have missed it before. She clicked rapidly, too rapidly, her hands shaking. Within seconds, she announced, Ah, yes, I see the reservation now. Miss Carter, we absolutely have your suite ready. Our sincerest apologies for the confusion. Suite? Alexis raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. The tall clerk tried to smile. The short one swallowed nervously. The manager's voice trembled as she added, If you need anything at all, anything, please let us know. We value your experience deeply. Alexis just looked at her. No anger, no vengeance, just quiet, piercing disappointment. The man in the gray suit leaned toward Alexis. "Shall we?" he asked, guiding her toward the elevator. As they walked away, the staff stood rigid, stunned, pale, terrified, and Alexis felt something shift inside her. Not power, not revenge, but justice. The kind she had earned. The kind no one could deny her anymore. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime as Alexis stepped inside with the man in the gray suit. He pressed the top floor button, the one usually reserved for VIP suites, corporate executives, and long-term partners. Alexis glanced at him, wondering how much of this her father had arranged in the 15 minutes she waited outside. She shouldn't have been surprised. He built an empire on acting quickly, decisively, and without hesitation. Still, she couldn't shake the weight in her chest. The humiliation from earlier hadn't vanished just because they now treated her like royalty. The sting lingered like a bruise beneath the skin. "Are you okay?" the man asked gently, hands folded in front of him. Alexis nodded slowly. "I will be," she said. "It just hit harder today." He gave her a respectful smile. "You handled yourself better than most could." Your composure was remarkable. Composure. That was all she'd had left when they tried to tear down her dignity. The elevator glided upward, and Alexis allowed herself to breathe. For the first time since she entered the hotel, no eyes were judging her. No one was watching her with suspicion. No whispers trailed behind her. Just quiet. Clean, heavy quiet. The doors opened again. Warm golden light spilled into the elevator. The top floor had an entirely different atmosphere. Polished marble floors, private artwork, a dedicated concierge desk, and thick carpets that absorbed every footstep. "This way," the man said, leading her toward a large corner suite. He unlocked the door, revealing a spacious, luxurious room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The skyline glittered under the late afternoon sun. Alexis stepped inside slowly, almost cautiously, like the room might disappear if she walked too confidently. She set her suitcase down, her hand falling away from the handle with a quiet exhale. "This suite is usually reserved for board members and international delegates," the man said. "Your father requested it personally." Alexis nodded, trying to process it all. "Thank you," she whispered. He gave a respectful nod. "If you need anything, transport, security, meeting space, just call the number on the card." When he left, Alexis finally let herself fall onto the edge of the bed. Her shoulders sagged as she leaned forward, elbows on her knees, palms pressed together. She had come here for a business deal, a meeting that could save her company. But now, she sat in a luxury suite she hadn't even asked for, given because of something she didn't want to rely on, her father's power. She rubbed her forehead, trying to ground her thoughts. "I didn't want it to happen like this," she murmured to herself. She wanted respect because she earned it, not because her father demanded it for her. After a few minutes, she got up and unpacked just enough to feel settled. Then she walked to the full-length window, watching cars move like tiny silver insects along the highway. Her father called. She answered quickly. "Dad?" His voice was calm but stern. "I spoke to the hotel's regional director. Their corporate compliance team will review today's incident. But I want to hear it from you again. Everything they said." Alexis inhaled deeply. "Dad? They didn't believe I had a reservation. They barely looked at the confirmation. They called it possibly fraudulent. They mocked me. The manager told me I didn't look like someone with a meeting." Her father's silence on the other end was colder than anger. "They judged you before they served you," he said. "They violated every standard of this chain. This isn't about one rude employee. This is about the culture they allow." "Dad, I don't want to destroy their jobs," she whispered. "Alexis," he said, voice softening. "It's not revenge. It's accountability. You didn't ask for anything unreasonable. You asked for the service you paid for. She sighed, looking down at the carpet. They need to learn, her father continued, that respect is not optional, especially toward women, especially toward people of color, especially toward paying customers. She closed her eyes. A mixture of exhaustion, pride, and sadness washed over her. You're strong, he added. Stronger than you know. You walked out with dignity. I'm proud of you. She blinked away the faint heat behind her eyes. Thank you, Dad. When the call ended, Alexis stood there quietly. She didn't feel victorious. Not yet. Part of her still carried the humiliation, and nothing could wipe that away instantly. But something inside her felt steadier now, stronger, anchored. Her meeting was in the morning. If she could close this contract, it could change everything, restore stability to her company, help the people counting on her, and reclaim her footing. She walked to the in-room desk, opened her laptop, and began reviewing her pitch deck. Her fingers moved with purpose. A soft knock sounded at the door. Alexis frowned cautiously. She wasn't expecting anyone. When she opened it, she found the hotel manager, the same woman who had dismissed her earlier, standing stiffly in the hallway, hands clasped so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Behind her stood the two clerks from the lobby, both pale and visibly uncomfortable. Miss Carter, the manager began, her voice trembling. We came to apologize. Alexis looked at all three of them, saying nothing. We made a terrible mistake, the manager continued. I misjudged the situation. I judged you. I shouldn't have. And I am sincerely sorry for how we treated you. The tall clerk swallowed. We shouldn't have behaved the way we did. It was unprofessional. The shorter one nodded quickly. We're really sorry, ma'am. Alexis didn't smile. She didn't nod. She didn't soften. She simply held their eyes with quiet, unwavering strength. Thank you for apologizing, she said finally. The manager exhaled shakily, as if expecting the worst. I hope, Alexis added, you treat the next woman who walks in here better than you treated me. The manager's eyes flickered with shame. Yes, we will. I promise. Alexis gave a single nod. Good night. She closed the door gently, not slamming it, not making a dramatic scene, just ending it with dignity. Because dignity, she realized, was her greatest weapon. She exhaled deeply, leaning her forehead against the doorframe. Her heart raced, but for the first time all day, it wasn't from fear or humiliation. It was from clarity. She would walk into the biggest meeting of her life. And she would walk in knowing that her worth had never depended on anyone else's permission to exist. She stepped back into the room, straightened her posture, and whispered to herself, they'll see who I really am. And this time, she believed it. The next morning began with a glow of soft light filtering through the curtains of Alexis's suite. She woke before her alarm, the weight of yesterday, still lingering but no longer suffocating her. Instead, she felt focused, clear, determined. This was the day she had been preparing for, the meeting that could save her company from collapse. Her entire future balanced on what she would say in the next few hours. Alexis dressed carefully, smoothing the dark blazer she had packed for this trip. She tied her hair back neatly, applied a soft touch of makeup, and took one last look in the mirror. Yesterday, they saw someone tired and unimportant. Today, they would see exactly who she was. She grabbed her laptop bag, took a final breath, and stepped out of the suite. The conference level. When Alexis descended to the business floor, everything felt sharpened. The bright lights, the polished floor, the hushed voices of staff preparing rooms. Guests passed by with rushed footsteps, and important conversations, but none of them knew the storm she carried inside. The conference entrance was lined with glass walls, revealing several meeting spaces. In the largest of them sat the team she needed to win over. Executives from Henderson Global, one of the biggest partners in her industry. They were powerful, they were influential, and they had millions of dollars on the line. This meeting was no small pitch. It was a lifeline, and she was ready. The wrong greeting. As she approached the conference door, a woman in a charcoal suit blocked her path. She held a clipboard, skin pale, expression stern. "Can I help you?" she asked politely, but with that same condescending edge Alexis recognized far too well. "I'm here for the 9 a.m. meeting," Alexis replied. "Carter Consulting." The woman lifted a brow. "Oh, I thought you were—" She stopped herself, but Alexis heard the unspoken words, "someone else. Something less." Alexis held her gaze calmly. "Is there a problem?" The coordinator shook her head quickly. No problem. They're inside. Please, go ahead." Alexis walked past her, refusing to carry the insult inward. Not today, not when everything depended on her clarity. She entered the meeting room. The room full of eyes. The long conference table was already filled. 8 executives, laptops open, papers spread, murmurs of conversation flowing. When Alexis stepped inside, they all looked up. Some nodded, some smiled politely, some assessed her silently. But unlike yesterday in the lobby, there was no mocking, no belittling, no immediate dismissal. Still, Alexis felt the pressure tighten around her chest. She forced herself to inhale slowly. "Good morning," she said with confidence. The lead executive, a silver-haired man with sharp eyes, stood to greet her. "Miss Carter, thank you for coming. We've heard positive things about your work." Alexis extended her hand. "Thank you for having me." As they settled in, her laptop screen illuminated the table with the first slide of her presentation. Her pulse drummed inside her ears, but her voice remained steady. The meeting began. Her pitch. Alexis spoke with passion, not desperate, not pleading, but proud. She explained her company's mission, its growth despite setbacks, and the creative solutions she had developed for clients over the years. She answered every question with insight. She countered every concern with data. She stood, literally stood, when showing the final slide, because she wanted them to see every ounce of conviction she carried. When she finished, there was a lengthy silence. Not cold, not dismissive, just thoughtful. The lead executive leaned back, folding his arms. "You clearly know your field," he said, "better than some larger firms, frankly." Alexis kept her expression composed, though pride warmed her ribs. "But," he continued, and her stomach tightened, "there is concern regarding your company's size. You're talented, there's no question, but your firm is small. This contract will require significant logistical capacity." Alexis lifted her chin. "I anticipated that concern," she said. She clicked the next slide, a chart showing strategic partnerships she had secured, networks she had built, and the contractors she had on standby. "I've been preparing for scale," she added. "Not after the contract, long before." The room went silent again. This time, the silence meant something different. This time, it felt like they were seeing her. Truly seeing her. The unexpected visitor. A knock interrupted the moment. The door opened, and the hotel manager from yesterday stepped inside. Alexis's spine stiffened automatically. The manager's face was pale with nervousness. She held a small tray with water and glasses, but her hands shook as she approached the table. The lead executive frowned. "We didn't request service." "Sorry," the manager stammered. I was just." Her eyes landed on Alexis and froze in horror. Several executives turned toward Alexis, then back at the trembling manager, puzzled by the tension. Alexis said nothing. She simply watched. The manager swallowed hard. "Apologies," she whispered. "I'll leave you to your meeting." As she rushed out, the door falling shut behind her, a few executives exchanged raised eyebrows. One woman leaned forward. "Is everything all right?" Alexis hesitated, only for a moment. "It's fine," she said gently. "Let's continue." Her professionalism spoke louder than any complaint she could have made, and the executives noticed. On the decision. After another 20 minutes of questions, the lead executive closed his folder. "Well," he said, glancing around the table, "I think we've seen enough." The room fell quiet. He turned to Alexis. "Ms. Carter, your pitch was exceptional. Your strategy is smart. Your preparation is thorough. Your professionalism is admirable." Alexis waited, barely breathing. "We'd like to move forward with your proposal." Her heart skipped, then raced, then steadied into something warm and overwhelming. "Congratulations," he added. "Your firm has won the contract." Alexis exhaled shakily, the kind of breath someone releases after carrying the weight of years on their back. "Thank you," she whispered. Truly. The aftermath. When the meeting ended, Alexis stepped into the hallway, leaning against the wall as relief washed through her. She had done it. She had earned it. Not because of her father, not because of power, but because of her work, her grit, her brilliance. Not even yesterday's humiliation could diminish that victory. Her phone buzzed. A text from her father. "Call me when you're done." "I know it went well." Alexis smiled, a tired, grateful smile. Yes, it went well. More than well. Today, she didn't just secure a contract, she reclaimed her voice. She rebuilt her confidence. She reminded herself who she was. And it was only the beginning. Alexis stepped outside the conference room, feeling like the entire world had shifted beneath her feet. Not violently, not chaotically, but with a quiet, powerful certainty. For the first time in months, she felt air filling her lungs without pressure tightening around her ribs. She had done it. She had secured the contract that could save her company. She had stood in that room and proved she belonged. And yet, the day wasn't done, not even close. She headed to the elevator, still buzzing with adrenaline. As she waited, her reflection in the mirrored door caught her eye. Her posture was straighter, her shoulders relaxed, her expression calm, but alive with something fierce. That's when the elevator dinged, and the last person she expected to see stepped out. The hotel manager. She walked out stiffly, as though her heels were knives digging into the carpet with every step. Her mascara looked slightly smudged, and her professional composure had cracks running through it like stress fractures in glass. Her eyes widened the moment she saw Alexis. "Miss Carter," she started. Alexis didn't flinch. She didn't turn away. She didn't soften. "Yes," she responded, voice steady and controlled. The manager swallowed, her throat bobbing visibly. I wanted to speak with you again, privately, if we could." "No," Alexis said calmly. "If you have something to say it here." The manager's lips parted with surprise. She clearly wasn't used to having her authority denied. Several guests walked past, their footsteps echoing lightly across the hallway. The manager took a quiet breath. "I know you spoke with corporate," she said. "I've been informed there will be a review of my conduct." Alexis stayed silent. The manager continued. I could lose my job over this." Her voice trembled. Still, Alexis said nothing. "And I'm asking, not demanding, not pretending, just asking, if you could reconsider what happened yesterday." Alexis felt a swirl of emotions, but kept them contained. This woman wasn't apologizing anymore. She was pleading. "Reconsider?" Alexis repeated softly. "You think this is just a misunderstanding I should brush aside?" The manager flinched. "No, I know it wasn't. I know I treated you unfairly." "You humiliated me," Alexis said gently, without anger, her tone calm, surgical. "You judged me before hearing me. You dismissed me in front of others. You refused to verify my reservation. You laughed." The manager's eyes glistened. "I did," she whispered, "and it was wrong." Alexis met her gaze, not with cruelty, not with arrogance, but with an unshakable clarity. "Why should I reconsider?" she asked. The manager exhaled shakily. "Because I have a daughter, and I've been trying to hold on to this job to support her. I know that doesn't excuse anything, but this job is all I have." Alexis inhaled. That sting of humanity hit her. This wasn't a monster. This was a flawed, fearful person who let prejudice dictate her behavior. "You should have thought about your daughter," Alexis said quietly, "before you judged someone else's." The woman nodded with tears forming. "You're right." Almost unbearable silence. Alexis thought of her father, his power, his blunt force, his protective instinct. She thought of the hotel staff's smirks, the cold dismissal, the humiliation that still lingered like phantom heat on her skin. And she thought of the contract she had just won, the strength she proved today, not out of vengeance, but out of her own merit. Changing this woman's fate might feel merciful, but leaving her without consequences might allow her to do it again to someone else. Finally, Alexis spoke. "I won't call corporate to stop anything," she said softly. "But I won't call them to escalate it either." The manager's breath hitched. Thank you. "This isn't forgiveness," Alexis added calmly. "This is accountability without cruelty. What happens next is up to your company and your behavior moving forward, not mine." The manager nodded slowly. A mix of relief and devastation crossed her face. "Understood," she whispered. "Thank you for your honesty." Alexis gave her a single, steady nod before stepping around her and walking toward the elevator. She didn't look back. The phone call. As Alexis reached the lobby floor, her phone buzzed again. Her father. She answered. "Dad? How did the meeting go?" he asked. A smile finally cracked across her face. "I got it." She heard him exhale deeply. Not with surprise, but with pride he had been holding back. "I knew you would," he said warmly. "Well done, Alexis." For the first time in weeks, her chest filled with something like hope instead of dread. "I handled the situation with the manager, too," Alexis said. Her father paused. "Did you now?" "Yes," she replied gently. She apologized. "I accepted the apology, but I didn't intervene. I let the system deal with her." Her father made a thoughtful sound. "You've grown, you know that? You handled this with grace and strength." Alexis smiled again, softer this time. "I learned from the best," she whispered. The lobby shift. As Alexis walked through the lobby to return to her suite, she noticed something new. The staff, who had ignored her earlier, now stood straighter. Their greetings were warmer, more careful, but her expression remained unreadable. She didn't bask in it. She simply nodded politely and kept going. Then something unexpected happened. A woman in a purple dress approached her, a guest she had never met. "Excuse me," the woman said softly. "I was here yesterday. I saw how they treated you. It was awful. I just wanted to say I'm glad you're still here." Alexis blinked, surprised. The woman continued, They did the same thing to my cousin last year. He stayed somewhere else instead. I wish he had stayed and stood his ground like you." Alexis felt a warmth rise in her chest. Not pride, but connection. "Thank you," she whispered. "Sometimes standing your ground feels harder than leaving." The woman nodded. "But you did it." When she walked away, Alexis stood there for a long moment, letting those words settle inside her. Today, her fight had been bigger than one reservation, bigger than one humiliation, bigger than a contract. She had stood against a pattern, the quiet erosion of dignity people carried for years. She had held the line, and she wasn't done. That evening, the city glittered outside Alexis's window, like a map of possibilities. Tiny lights moved across highways. Tall glass towers reflected the last traces of sunset, and somewhere, among the noise and chaos, her future had quietly shifted direction. In her suite, the contract documents glowed on her laptop screen. She had printed nothing yet. She just stared at the digital pages, scrolling slowly, rereading the same paragraph again and again. Not because she doubted it, but because she still couldn't fully believe it. Her small company, her struggling firm, had just landed a deal that giants had chased. Her phone buzzed on the table. This time, it wasn't her father. It was her team. A group chat lit up with anxious messages. "How did it go?" "Boss, we're refreshing emails like maniacs. Please tell us we didn't lose this one too." Alexis smiled, a tired, full-hearted smile, and started typing. "We got it." 3 dots appeared, then exploded. "No way. Are you serious? I'm literally crying at my desk. You did it, Alexis." She shook her head gently at the last message and typed back, "We did it." "Be in the office early Monday. We've got work to do." As the notifications kept coming, emojis, voice notes, celebratory chaos, Alexis placed her phone face down and walked to the window. She pressed her palm against the cool glass. Her reflection looked back at her, stronger now, steadier. Yesterday, a hotel lobby had tried to reduce her to nothing. Today, a corporate boardroom had acknowledged exactly who she was. The contrast hurt, but it also healed. Her mind drifted back to the woman in the purple dress, the quiet stranger who'd approached her in the lobby to say, "I'm glad you're still here." How many people had simply left, walked out, gone home, stayed silent? Because speaking up felt pointless. Because humiliation was easier to swallow privately than to fight publicly. Alexis closed her eyes for a moment. Maybe this isn't just about me, she thought. Maybe it's bigger. Her laptop pinged. An email had arrived, marked urgent. She walked back to the desk and opened it. The sender, Regional Operations, Silvercrest Hotels. The subject line, Formal Follow-up, Incident Report and Corrective Action. Her eyes focused. Dear Ms. Carter, first and foremost, we want to extend our sincere apology for your experience at our property. What you endured fails to reflect our values. We have reviewed security footage, staff statements, and your complaint. As a result, the employees involved have been placed under disciplinary review, and corrective measures are being enforced, including retraining and internal monitoring. We also wish to invite you to join a small advisory circle to help us improve our guest treatment protocols, particularly in areas of bias, dignity, and customer care, if you are willing. We understand that your time is valuable, and there is no obligation. Regardless, we want you to know this. Your voice changed something here. Sincerely, Regional Director, Silvercrest Hotels. Alexis stared at the words. Your voice changed something here. Her throat tightened unexpectedly. So many times in her life, she'd swallowed insults, brushed off comments, ignored the cautious glances. She had convinced herself that silence was safer, that walking away was easier. But yesterday, she hadn't walked away. She had stood in it, carried it, faced it, exposed it. And now, even if only in one chain of hotels, something was shifting. She didn't reply immediately. She flagged the email, closed her laptop, and exhaled slowly. For tonight, she needed rest. Tomorrow, she would decide just how far she wanted this fight to go. The next morning, she checked out of the hotel. The lobby was quieter than before. Staff stood straighter. Words were more careful. Not fake, not overly sweet, just aware. The manager wasn't behind the desk. Instead, a different supervisor stood there. Older, calmer, with kind eyes. He processed her checkout personally, speaking with genuine respect. "Carter," he said, "we're truly sorry for what you went through during your stay. It won't be forgotten or ignored." Alexis nodded gently. "See that it isn't," she replied. He nodded firmly. "We will." As she turned to leave, she saw the two clerks at a distance, quietly working, avoiding her gaze. She didn't feel satisfaction at their discomfort. What she felt instead was something more complicated. Not hatred, not revenge, just a quiet understanding that they were now facing themselves the way she had been forced to face them. Outside, the same sun shone on the same sidewalk, but Alexis walked with a different weight now, not the weight of humiliation, but of responsibility. The kind that comes when you realize your voice can move something larger than you. She slid into the back seat of a rideshare, and as they pulled away from the hotel, she allowed herself one last glance. Not the place where I was broken, she thought. The place where I decided I wouldn't be. Days later, back in her office, everything hummed with a different energy. Her small team gathered in the conference room. Mismatched chairs, second-hand whiteboard, a coffee machine that groaned louder than it brewed. All the signs of a company that had been surviving on pure passion. On the wall was a printout of their original mission statement. "We don't just solve problems, we stand by people." Today, that line meant more than ever. Alexis stood at the front, the new contract stacked neatly in front of her. Her team watched with wide eyes, excitement barely contained. "All right," she said, a hint of a smile curling her lips. "Here's where we are." She walked them through the project, the numbers, the timeline, the expectations. Some faces lit up, others grew nervous, but all of them leaned in closer. When she finished, her assistant, Jordan, raised a hand. "Can I say something?" he asked. Alexis nodded. "I don't know all the details," he said, voice soft but sincere. "But we heard a little about what happened at the hotel, and we just want to say we're proud of you. Not just for getting this contract, but for not letting them crush you before you walked into that meeting." A murmur of agreement passed through the room. Another team member added, "You always tell us that our clients deserve to be treated like human beings first. Seeing you go through that, and still show up like you did, it means a lot." Alexis felt her chest tighten again, but this time, it wasn't pain. It was gratitude. "I didn't feel strong yesterday," she admitted. "I felt small. I felt angry, and for a moment, I thought about going home and canceling everything." They listened closely. "But then I remembered something," she continued. "The way people in this world are treated when they walk in alone. The way they're looked at, judged, dismissed. I realized if I walked away, I'd be allowing what happened to me to keep happening to others." She glanced at the contract. "So I stayed. I pushed through. And we won. Not just a deal, but a chance to build something bigger than us." Her team smiled, eyes shining with shared pride. "From now on," Alexis said, voice firm and clear, This company is not just about consulting or strategy. It's about how we show up. For our clients, for each other, for anyone who's ever been underestimated. The room fell silent for a moment. Then Jordan smiled. So, we're not just surviving anymore. No, Alexis replied softly. We're not. He grinned. We're building. She nodded. We're building. Her phone buzzed again on the table. This time, it was an email from the hotel's regional director, following up on their advisory invitation. She didn't open it in front of the team. Instead, she looked at her people and said, "Let's get to work." This story is just beginning. They nodded, chairs scraping back as they moved to their stations, carrying new purpose in their steps. Alexis stayed behind a moment longer, staring at the wall where their mission statement hung. We don't just solve problems. We stand by people. She picked up a marker and beneath the printed line wrote in her own handwriting, starting with ourselves. Then she capped the marker, smiled quietly to herself, and walked out of the room. Because her fight wasn't over. It had simply evolved. The evening light poured into Alexis's office like a soft gold stream, painting long shadows across the floor. Her team had already gone home, leaving behind the quiet hum of computers and the faint scent of brewed coffee that had fueled their long brainstorming session. Alexis stood by the window, arms crossed gently, watching the city move beneath her. The streets buzzed with life, people heading home, heading out, chasing dreams, chasing survival. She felt connected to them in a way she hadn't before. Maybe because she finally understood what it meant to stand in your truth, even when the world tried to make you shrink. Her phone buzzed again, another email from the hotel's regional director. She hesitated, then finally opened it. Ms. Carter, we deeply value your experience and perspective. If you choose to join our Guest Equity Advisory Board, we would benefit greatly from your insight. Your voice matters. Not just for you, but for many who remain unheard. Alexis exhaled softly. She didn't want revenge. But she also didn't want silence. Not anymore. She clicked the reply button. Her fingers hovered for a moment before typing. I'm willing to help, but only if real change is the goal. She hit send. The message flew off into cyberspace, small, but significant. And as she set her phone down, she felt something settle inside her. Not victory, not pride, but peace. A soft knock sounded on her office door. Her assistant, Jordan, poked his head in. Heading out? He asked with a smile. Soon, she said, just finishing up. He stepped inside, hesitating. There's something I wanted to give you. Alexis raised an eyebrow. Oh? Jordan handed her a small envelope. She opened it. Inside was a simple card, handwritten by the entire team. Thank you for standing for us, so we could learn to stand for ourselves. Her chest tightened. Jordan, she whispered, touched. You didn't have to. We wanted to, he said gently. You teach us that business is more than money, it's dignity. And yesterday, you didn't just fight for yourself. You showed us how to fight. Alexis blinked back emotion and pulled him into a quick hug. Thank you. She murmured. Really? He stepped back, smiling brightly. Get some rest, boss. Monday starts the biggest chapter of our lives. He left, closing the door behind him. Alexis held the card against her chest for a moment, breathing deeply. Then she grabbed her bag, turned off the lights, and stepped out into the night. The final confrontation. When she reached the sidewalk, a familiar face was waiting. The hotel manager. Not hiding behind a desk. Not surrounded by staff. Just a woman standing alone under the streetlight, looking out of place and uncertain. Alexis paused. The manager stepped forward cautiously. Miss Carter, I'm not here to bother you, she said. I just wanted to tell you something. Alexis raised her chin. I'm listening. The manager swallowed hard. They reassigned me today. I'm no longer the front office manager. Alexis didn't react. Not cruelly, not victoriously. I see, she said, quietly. The manager looked down at her hands. They didn't fire me, but they removed me from the position. I'll be undergoing retraining for guest relations and bias protocols. Her voice cracked. It hurt to hear, she admitted, but I realized something. I've been working in hospitality for years, but I forgot the actual meaning of the word. Alexis stayed silent, letting her speak. I judged you because of what I assumed, the manager whispered. I thought someone tired, someone traveling alone, someone who didn't fit what I expected, didn't deserve priority. I was wrong. She lifted her gaze, eyes shining with sincerity. I don't expect your forgiveness. I just wanted you to know. I'm trying to be better, and I'm sorry, she whispered before turning to leave. The city lights stretched out before her. Glittering like pathways, she had finally earned the right to walk. Her company was saved. Her voice had made an impact. Her dignity remained untouched. Her future, finally, looked bright. For years, she thought strength meant battling every injustice alone. But now she knew the truth. Strength was standing, even when the world tried to break you, and choosing to rise instead of crumble. Alexis started the engine, her heart full. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of her becoming. YouTube outro, cinematic, emotional, smooth. Thank you for watching this powerful story. If this moment touched you, inspired you, or made you think, make sure to like, comment, and share your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe for more emotional, dramatic, and inspiring stories just like this one. Period. Your support means everything. Period. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and stay true to yourself.